Welcome to Wellfest and the workshop on the power of reinvention. This seems about right, right? I mean, what a year we have had. 2020 has been crazy. So many changes, so much tumult, right? We're in crisis mode, we're in protective mode, we're in discovery mode. Um, that's the year of 2020. It's a year of constant change, and I'm a believer that when your environment is kind of in an upheaval, there's a reason for that, and it allows you to take stock of who you are in that moment and what you're about to be about when the moment ceases. Like, how do you come through that? What does that look like for you? So in this session, we're going to talk about the power of reinvention. I'm obsessed with it, so we're going to talk about it. And we're also going to introduce you to an incredible young woman who has had more reinvention stories, frankly, in her 28 years of life than most of us will have. And she is killing the game. She's doing so well. And so she's going to share her story and sort of those key pitfalls and tips and tricks that she used to make some key decisions that literally have changed her life. So that's to come. But again, thank you for joining us. This is a season of reinvention. Reinvention is a gift, right? It totally is. The question is, who's in the driver's seat? Is it you or is it someone else? Are you in the driver's seat or is something else in the driver's seat? So in this session, it's gonna be sassy, it's gonna be fun, right? I'm gonna ask some questions. We're gonna get to know our guest a little bit better, and we'll dive into that story. But before we do, I want to kind of lay a little bit of groundwork on reinvention and why, if you're feeling the tug, you're not alone. Millions of people across the country right now are considering and thinking about reinvention, and there's reasons for that, right? So we're gonna dig into that next. All right, so the reinvention revolution is here. Here we are. We can't escape it. It's happening to us in the moment, right? Again, I'm Jess Averhart. I don't even know if I've introduced myself yet, but I am Jess Averhart. I'm a fourth generation entrepreneur. I shared with you earlier, I'm obsessed with the power of reinvention. I've worked on an Amish farm. I've worked for a Fortune 5 company. It was the number one most admired company at one point in the world. I've worked with and for the Bengals, the Browns, and the Cavaliers when I was in the world of sports and entertainment. I've worked for Google for Entrepreneur Tech Hub, which many of you know if you know my story here in Durham. And that was amazing. And then recently led a leadership organization within the Triangle, which was a true gift to me and poured into me so much of the work and the thinking that I have around this idea of reinvention and how to do it efficiently and with the most intention to get the most out of it, right? And so currently I'm the CEO and founder of Jess & Co., which is a consulting arm, and it's also, again, focusing on women and the power of reinvention. You see my son here on the screen. For you, it should be the right of your screen. He's 18. He was supposed to be in college right now. We were supposed to have moved him in August, but his school went 100% virtual, and so rather than send him, we'll have him do his schoolwork at home when he's supposed to be in Atlanta. We decided to give him a gap year. So that's what he's up to. He's sorting his own life. He is definitely in the middle of a reinvention. There's no doubt about it. So I hope everybody's doing well. Is kind of like enjoying this opportunity to just lean in or sit back or have some coffee or take notes. However you want to experience this, please do. This is Wellfest, so it's up to you. I want to set the tone here. You are allowed to reinvent yourself. Sometimes as women, we get we need permission. Men too, but men seem to like maybe step into that nudge a little bit easier. Women, if you're listening, you're allowed to reinvent yourself. In fact, you're doing it whether you want to or not. So just let's live in that space today as we think about reinvention and your story. Okay, just to level set here. So 50% of women on Earth say they've given up on their dreams. I just can't get over that statistic. One out of every two people of women on the planet Earth have given up on their dreams. Yikes. There is $11 billion being spent in the self-help industry, which I think is an indicator, right? It's an insight that we should just pay attention to. The people are searching. They want to do and be better. They want to hold on to those dreams, and they're looking for ways to do that. 80%, and I know this feeling. I've been in this percentage at times in my life. 80% of us admit to being stuck in a routine. There's a lot of reasons for that, right? A lot of it is just that we don't have the general tools. We don't have the support system. There's a little bit of fear that's involved in that, and a lot of us will just say we don't have the time, right? We just don't have the time. So we're not going to be able to unpack all of that. That's just not possible in 45 minutes. But what we are going to be able to do is learn a little bit more about ourselves through the story of someone else. And so the truth is that people don't actually know themselves very, very well. There's a statistic, Adam Grant quoted this, and there's a statistic to prove that your coworkers and colleagues can tell someone else your strengths and weaknesses better than you can. Right? And so that's like not good that someone else can tell your story and share your narrative in a better way than even you can. The power of reinvention starts with strengths, weaknesses, and aspirations. What are you anchored on? What is the anchor, right? What have you learned from your past that can inform your future? So those are just some beginning thoughts, right? This is a thought exercise. Just start thinking about that, your strengths and your weaknesses. All right, but that's not what this is about. This is not about that. This is about Hannah Fussell, who I'm getting ready to introduce you to. So with that, and without further ado, let's meet Hannah. All right, I'm so excited. This is this is a pleasure for me because I get a chance to interview a friend who I have not kept in touch with, sadly, for too long. It feels like it's been years and years and years, but the pace of her business is growing so fast, and I watch her peripherally, that when I had the opportunity to talk about reinvention and bring all of those concepts that we just discussed to life, I had to introduce you to Hannah. So Hannah, thank you so much for joining us. This is really special, and I'm excited to share your story with the viewers of WellFest. I think they're really going to enjoy your trajectory and your journey. My guess is that many women who are watching this, and men for that matter, might see themselves in moments of your story of decision making and choices and all that kind of stuff that we've talked about over the years. And I just am really proud of your success and proud of those crucible moments, right? That you said, I'm following this because this makes sense to me and I can feel it in my gut and I'm going there. And so I'm excited. So we're just going to go ahead and get started here. I've got a couple of questions, a little warm up questions, right? So quick introduction first. This is Hannah Fussell. She's the Chief Product Officer at Nugget. Many of you probably own a Nugget, maybe, or if you don't own one, you know what they are, but they're these wonderful, she's going to explain it to you, but I have two of them, and which is it's just fantastic. They're like these mobile, you can move them around, little couches and playscapes, and you can wash them, and they're incredible. And so like every mom in America, I believe at this point, has one. And here's why I know this, because Hannah was just telling me this. She was telling me that Nugget is now the #1 fastest growing company in North Carolina, which in and of itself is blows your mind if you think about all the companies in the state. But it is also the 11th fastest growing company in the country, as crowned by Inc. magazine. So we are really proud of that, and I'm really proud of Hannah because, and she's going to tell you this, a lot of the inflection point came when she joined the team at Nugget around that promotion and branding, and so their growth in part is due to Hannah and her work as co-founder and chief product officer, at Nugget. So congratulations on that incredible success. Amazing.
Thank you, Jess.
Yeah,
Thank
amazing.
you. I'm super happy to share and talk about my experience and the journey, because it has been a journey. It's been a fast journey, but it has certainly been a journey that's all just been smushed into 3.5 years.
God bless you, girl. All right. Yeah, 3.5 years, folks. Like, let's be really clear here. Okay, so just so our audience can get to know you, let's do a quick speed round of just like fun things about you so they can, see that you're relatable and not just like total badass that all she does is work. She doesn't. She does other things. Like, what's your favorite place to eat in Durham?
Okay, so this is actually connected to Nugget because they emailed saying that they bought one, and they're like, come check us out sometime. We just opened. It's called Cucciolo Osteria. Have you been there?
No. Where is this?
Okay, y'all, let me put you on.
No.
It's an Italian restaurant over by the West End Wine Bar.
The wine bar, yes, it's right next. It's that new. Sorry, I'm just interrupting.
You haven't been yet?
I've walked by it to go to the West End Wine Bar, and I've seen it, and a couple of people have said it's amazing. Okay.
So yes, best restaurant in the Triangle to me.
Okay.
I'm a pasta girl, and so we like to go out, have our wine, have our pasta. It's so minimalist and adorable inside. The family is awesome. They've got 2 little Nuggeteers, and yeah, I've just really, really enjoyed their growth. And during COVID, they have just done an amazing job. It made me love them even more. So follow them on social media and go have your little date night there. It is beautiful, and it's great for taking friends, taking family. It is like the spot.
I love it. That's perfect. Okay, well, you're now maybe, I don't even know, it's countless people who've said that I need to eat there, and I'm like, oh yeah, I know, I've seen it. Okay, so now I've got it.
Yes.
I will report
Get the
back.
ragu.
Okay, get the ragu. I will report back for sure.
Thank you.
All right, what's the first concert you ever attended?
Okay, this is embarrassing. But so I grew up internationally, and my family would actually come to Virginia in the summer breaks, and I was obsessed with American Idol, like most teenagers around that time. And my heartthrob, my crush, was none other than the beautiful, the amazing Clay Aiken.
Oh.
And so my first concert was actually in Raleigh, like. I didn't know anything about North Carolina, but we actually drove down to Raleigh, stayed the night so we could go to a concert for Clay Aiken, love of my life.
Oh, I love that. That's a great story, actually.
Yeah.
What happened to Clay Aiken? I don't know. I know he was running for office. Yeah. Okay. Favorite seat? Well, let me tell you, my first concert was MC Hammer and Vanilla Ice, which totally dates me, which I probably shouldn't have, but I don't care. I really don't even.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Swaggy.
MC Hammer is pretty cool. All right, so favorite season?
Fall. I'm so basic. Pumpkin spice lattes. I mean, they just started. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah,
I can't hide that.
I'm with you. I went to Starbucks yesterday, and it was the pumpkin spice scone or whatever. And I told the lady at drive-thru, I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's pumpkin season!" And it was like she'd heard it 100 times. She goes, "That's right. Would you like one?" She was so nice about it, but you could tell she was like, everybody's acknowledging that pumpkin spice season has started. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the little things this year. Just keeping us,
It's keeping us positive. You're absolutely right. Okay, so if you had friends and family, if I cornered them and I said, tell me 3 words to describe Hannah, what would they say about you?
So I am definitely a gift giver, and I love them being thoughtful. And so I think people would say thoughtful. I love, giving unique gifts and just being unique and creative in my relationships with people. I'm extremely silly, which is perfect for my job, my role. Very much love to just kid around and joke and make people laugh. And then the other one that I was thinking about is, a lot of people will say that I'm, passionate.
Yeah.
And I was talking about it with Ryan, who's my business partner, and he was like, passionate, that's such a fluff word. That can mean lots of different things. A better word for you that actually speaks to your life and what you've done is the word determined. So he said I should go with determined over passionate, and I was like, okay, I'll
love
take that.
it. And I think he's right. Knowing your story, I think he's right. So please use that moving forward. It's so good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, when we look at your smartphone, and I had to take every single app you have and delete them, but you could only keep 3. Which one are your must-haves?
Gotta have Instagram. I mean, that's our company. That's
right.
Every day. That's everyday work. I consider that my work.
Yeah.
So definitely Instagram, excellent app. I have, since COVID, gotten on the TikTok train.
Yeah.
TikTok, like, I'm nervous about it. I think probably my whole life is in jeopardy now, all the information that has been shared. But I went to China in January, and so I think that they've got everything on me.
That's right. You might as well just hang it up and have fun. That's right.
Yeah. So I love TikTok, and I just love Gen Z, and I think they're so cool, and I wish I was Gen Z. So I love TikTok. And the other one I was thinking about is I am a really big Airbnb-er. Like, I love Airbnbs, and especially this year, just the ability to just like book an Airbnb in the mountains or book it at the beach, like that has been a lifesaver for me because I'm getting very antsy. And so Airbnb, and I'm also very, with my work, I'm very like interior motivated, and so like beautiful Airbnbs.
I love that.
That has been something that I've really valued. So Airbnb.
Cool. I love that. And I'm a big Airbnb person as well. And I did a little trip recently just to Greensboro, which seems like an odd thing, but it was like little place. It was beautiful the way they had it set up and so cozy, and it was near a lake. And I was just like, this is fascinating. And I could come home if I needed to. So yeah. I'm with you.
Oh yeah, I've done Chapel Hill. I've done Mebane, just for like, Mebane I did for one night, but it was just like a tiny little outdoorsy experience, and it was awesome.
And it was close, and you could get back if you needed to. All right, so now we're going to shift gears a little bit. Thank you for that. That was fun for me. So we're going to shift gears a tiny bit and kind of get serious so we can get into the topic of reinvention. Okay. So but still a question, an interesting question that maybe our listeners should also answer. If you had a title of a book to describe your life, if you had to title the book, and inside the chapters were the stories of your life up to this point, what would you entitle that book today?
So this is really weird that you're asking me this, because last week a title came to mind for a book, and I literally still have it on my whiteboard in front of me. It came, and I quickly wrote it, and I told Ryan, he's like, okay, you're crazy. And I was like, no, like this just came to me. So,
wow, I think
the title is,
okay, I'm ready.
It's called Big Kids.
Big Kids.
Big Kids. And should I go into why?
Yeah, you have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was a teacher. I'll talk about that, I'm sure. Yeah. Really important to me. I still consider myself an educator at my core. And through this work now, through Nugget and through the startup world and working with parents, always working with parents and caregivers and family, I've just really seen a lot of unique kind of similarities between the ways that classrooms are managed and the ways that we teach empathy and teach skills to children, and things that like adults either lose in their adulthood or things that kind of get jaded in their adulthood.
Yeah.
And I'm just really, I'm really interested in the ways in which like my career as an educator has impacted the way that I interact with adults and the things that I try to bring out in adults now. And so that's a quick little quip. I won't give you too much because it will come out in like 10 years.
That's right. Yeah.
But Big Kids,
I love that.
That's the book.
That's good, and it kind of parallels your life right now, because I would say you and your other co-founders are sort of like big kids because of the work you're doing. So it's kind of like life imitating art, imitating life.
Yes.
Okay, so tell our folks who are in this workshop what energizes you about your work. What is it? What gives you life?
So right now, we're in a very big growth stage, and I have been so excited every day to be hiring young women, being involved in the hiring and recruitment and interviews, and just the careers of bright young women has been so important to me. And I didn't even realize that it would be something that meant so much to me. But I think that out of college, I had a rough experience with my first boss.
Okay.
And I think it kind of changed it kind of made me think a certain way about what the kind of like leadership employee dynamic should look like.
Yeah.
And so being that person for others and really caring about that relationship and really wanting to be a great mentor and really wanting to make that first experience for a young woman out of college the best it could be, has been so important to me. So that's something that I've been really energized by. We have great hires that, yeah, we're just excited about their talent, and I'm excited about being a mentor for them.
That's awesome. That's great. Are you comfortable sharing with our folks how old you are?
I am, yeah. I'm 28.
Okay, so 28.
I turned 28 in April.
Awesome. Okay, so I just want to provide that context as we go into your story a little bit, because you've been at Nugget 3.5 years, right? Is that what you said? All right, so you haven't always been at Nugget. That's where we're going, right? We're going to zoom in a little bit more on this idea of reinvention. Most folks don't experience the number of reinventions that you've had before 30. So I think that's why it's so interesting to me, and why I get very energized myself around your story and your choices, because it really is compelling. And I'm fascinated by people's stories, and I'm always fascinated by what fuels their decisions, right? Mm-hmm. So talk to our folks about your story a little bit. Take them through your journey of where you were not 3.5 years ago, right? Before then, and now where you are now as a co-founder and CPO of one of the fastest growing companies in the country.
So let's see. I guess I'll start. It's college is important to our journey. And so David, Ryan, and I are the co-founders of Nugget. David, I'm the baby. David's the oldest, and David's in his 30s, and Ryan's in the middle. And so David had the idea for a more sustainable college futon. And so that was the concept. He was bothered by, at the end of the semester, all of the college students would throw out their $99 Target futon, and it would end up in this big pile, and everyone knew it. But people weren't really bothered by it. But of course, David, as the type of thinker that he is, was bothered by the systems that are impacted by that, by cheap furniture that has like one use and then is thrown away. And so he wanted to disrupt that. He wanted to make something that was the opposite of that furniture. So that furniture was heavy, clunky. You couldn't take it to the next dorm, so you threw it out. It broke. And so the opposite of that would be something that's lightweight, doesn't have all those pieces and bolts and screws that you have to put together, something that can fold, has a handle, put it in your car, take it to the next place. So that was where the concept started. He started drawing it on a piece of paper in one of his classes. And Ryan at the time was a very creative kid in Chapel Hill. He, as a senior, had a store on Franklin Street. If any of you out there are UNC fans, you might have heard of Thrill City, which was, it kind of had like a cult following. So he had a great eye for design, creative marketing. David saw that in him and wanted to partner with him to make this kind of like couch concept come to life. At the time, it had a different name. It was called C-Sits, SEAC, Sits. Okay. And I was, at that time engaging in kind of education work. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. I ended up working with Student U in Durham, and absolutely had my eyes open to so many things related to education and systems and inequities in the U.S. Got very passionate about that. Decided to leave college, after college, go to Teach for America, and did the TFA program. And after that, I came back to Durham, and I continued teaching at Marine Joy, which was another great experience for me. I wanted to see the full spectrum of Title I schools, public, and then charter as well. So at that time, Ryan and David were still working on this college futon, and they were having difficulty breaking into the college audience. That consumer kind of market is, as you know, it's kind of going into Target with your parents. They buy everything, and then, you hop in the car and that's it. Yeah. And you're not really taking a chance on any small businesses for furniture at that point. You just need it quick. Yeah. And so that was really difficult to break into. They had a lot of extra product laying around. And at that time, they had started a Kickstarter because they were hearing that it could be something that's actually more for kids. And so I was like, hey, give me one for my classroom. I really didn't have enough money to decorate my classroom very well. So I was like, let me put it in my reading nook. It's better than a beanbag. It won't break. And so the Kickstarter was actually really successful, and they found a lot of success with parents talking about the product. and getting excited about it. And they actually raised like $80,000 within like a few days. And it was a Kickstarter staff pick and all this. So there was a lot of like energy behind the product for kids. And at that time, I was seeing my kids really take to the product in a way that I had known David and Ryan, but had never seen kids take to the product in this way. And that year I had autism, sensory processing disorder, I think oppositional defiant disorder. So I had lots of disorders in that classroom, amazing kids that just had lots of energy, and they needed something to do and to wiggle and to get that energy out. And so the Nugget really became, we started calling it the Nugget, and it became really core to our classroom culture and positive reinforcement. So if you do this, okay, I'll let you go play on the Nugget. Okay. We can bring the Nugget out into the middle of the classroom and have a movie. We can make forks. And it was only one Nugget with all these kids, but because it could come apart, they could share it. And so I really was like, this is a great product for kids, y'all. And so at that time, they didn't have many color options that were beautiful. At that time they're like, okay, we're going to market to kids, so we're going to do bright highlighter yellow and red and blue.
I have the orange one and the blue one. Yes. From the beginning.
Exactly. So I'm kind of an aesthetic person, and so I was like, I took the black one because I didn't really like any of their options. And at that time, it wasn't really machine washable because they weren't really thinking about it in their design for kids. My kids that year got lice 4 times, and the lice kept coming back, and every time I would really struggle to try to unzip it, get the covers off, I was like, that's enough, I'm done with this product. It's not a good product for kids. So that was my kind of user experience with the product, and I was giving them this feedback the whole time about what it was like in the classroom. Towards the end of the year, I was ready to move on to something else. The charter network can be really exhausting for anyone that's familiar as a teacher. And I felt like a lot of my teacher friends would tell me, at a young age, like, go try something else. You can always come back to teaching. And I still think that. I still think anyone can go back to teaching. Like I said, I think I'm an educator at my core. But I wanted to try something else while I was pretty young. And so I was interviewing for different roles, nonprofits, even marketing. I had a lot of pushback that I was just an educator or maybe not skilled enough to take on those roles. And so, people would see my resume and say, oh, that's cute. You taught 4th grade, you taught 3rd grade. And I was bothered by that because I think that teachers are like the most well-equipped humans. And, I thought I was very skilled and I could really do anything that I put my mind to. That word determined right there. And so at that time I said, hey, Ryan and David, I need something else on my resume. People aren't really taking me seriously. Can I come in as an unpaid intern for a summer just to have something on my resume, and then maybe I can apply for jobs after that and people might take me a little bit more seriously. Maybe in the startup world I could try that. And so I was probably rejected from like 2 or 3 jobs at this point. Wow. And so, they had me come on, and I pitched to them about doing a little bit more on their social media because I felt like, I know kids, I know parents, I know design, and I've been a customer. So I think that I could come in and maybe do some more things with your social media. And so that was kind of the pitch. That was the idea. And I was like, don't have to pay me. Let me just see what I can do with your social. And so I took the angle of as a teacher and as a customer, and just tried to think about what would people want to see to take a chance on this product. And I also worked with them on different colors and a new zipper pattern to make the product better for the customer base. And so in that summer, we went from 1,000 Instagram followers to 5,000 Instagram followers in a couple of months with no paid advertising. And then, it kind of went from there. It went pretty quickly to 10,000, and then we hit 20,000, and every time I would send them a little text with a smiley face, and they couldn't believe it. I think we went to like 100,000 by that holiday season of just like organic Instagram followers, just from the way that we were doing social. And that's kind of where we are now.
Amazing.
I mean, it just kind of got bigger and bigger and bigger, and the demand grew more and more and more. And eventually it made the most sense for me to turn into an official co-founder and become kind of the product arm, because I was really interested in the colors and the patterns and making it the best it could be for kids and for families. And so I'm the CPO, Ryan continues to be the CMO, and David is our CEO.
That's amazing. That's an incredible story. How many followers do you have today? Do you know?
I think the last time I checked, I could check. I think it's 200. It's been crazy. I think it might be 250,000. Let me check.
Amazing.
We are at 255,000.
Yeah. Wow. So 250,000 followers. Started with 1,000, right?
Yeah.
So congratulations on that incredible success. So let's talk about like what it takes, Hannah, not to be a CPO, but to make decisions to change your to step out in faith. I mean, you made some key. You shared with us some key pivot points. I'm going to try to do something different and new because you got some good advice. It sounds like from colleagues who said you can always come back. So that was the first thing. I was trying to like imagine the flow chart here. Then you said, then you accepted the advice and said, okay.
Yes.
The next step was putting yourself out really on the marketplace and saying, and asking the marketplace to provide their judgment of your value. This is the scary stuff.
Yes.
Right?
It was frightening.
Yeah. So talk to us about that moment where the continual rejection and then your decision, that determination to push forward versus going back to teaching, because I think that's that moment. That's the key moment, because you had the experience and you could just go back, but rejection, I'm still moving forward. What is that?
Oh wow, I love this question because I don't think I've really taken the time to sit with it the way that you're asking me to, but it's a great question. Teachers are always in demand, right? In America today, teachers are always in demand. Sure. And so I think that first rejection, it was a nonprofit job. I really, really wanted it. And it was a really difficult interview. And I kind of went through the motion of the inner negative self-talk of maybe I'm just, meant to be a teacher. Maybe I actually am not smart enough for this. I think I'm skilled, but maybe I'm just skilled in the teacher way and not in the real world way where other people find value in that.
Yes.
So I definitely felt that and felt that wash over my body. I'm actually getting chills thinking about that moment because I was needing to get back to my principle about what I was going to do. So it was had a deadline. And I just remember thinking, and then I think I went into the second interview feeling a little bit down, but, they were a little nicer and I didn't feel as negative about myself. But when I got rejected from that second one, I think, and I asked for feedback on my interview. I always ask for feedback to try to get better. And I think that, when they said that they didn't think that I had the skill set, I think that that's kind of what created that fire and kind of that rumbling. Because what I know about myself as a Teach for America Title I school teacher with I had the best data year after year. I was Rookie Teacher of the Year for Miami-Dade Public Schools. I felt like I was really, really equipped to do anything at that point. And then going into the charter system, a whole new system with kids that, had difficulties, but I continued to bring really great data to the table. I was like, if I can do both of those things and succeed, then I know that the next chapter, if I really put my mind to it, and, my mom always just says to me, kind of replays, is just if you've tried your best, then that's all that you can do. And so I've just felt, both of those interviews, I tried my best. It didn't work out. If I can really put my mind to the next thing, I do think that I can succeed because I do feel like I've overcome these challenges. And as a TFA teacher, I wasn't trained as an educator either.
Yeah.
And so I, had a little bit of a summer training through Institute, if y'all are familiar with TFA. But that's kind of what I did, right? I had this challenge of learning to be the best teacher I could be in a short period of time and then going for it.
Yeah.
And so I felt like whatever I do next, even if I don't have the background for it, I think I've got, the street smarts and the skills to be able to spend the weekend studying what free things I can find, what articles can I find. And that was that internship. That was a lot of time learning the language of the marketing world
Yeah.
was not something I ever knew. I studied psychology at UNC. So I think that those rejections just pushed me. And then with the feedback being, you don't have the skill set, I was like, I've got the skill set.
Yeah.
I've got the skill set to do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And so I think that was what kind of pushed me to taking that unpaid internship.
I love this. So for our folks who are listening and participating in this, we did not plan this. So like I mean, we planned this. I mean, obviously we set this interview up, but I don't know what Hannah's going to share. And so much of what you're saying is reinforcing my beliefs around how you can successfully walk into the next chapter, that like level up moment in your life. And we'll have many of them. And you said so many things that I shared earlier as I set this today up. One was you asked for feedback. So like one of my first steps when I think about my own reinvention is you don't know what you don't know. And if you're going to reinvent yourself, you have to know yourself. You've got to understand not just what you see in yourself and what you understand to be your strengths and what you understand to be your weaknesses and where you're aspiring to go, but you have to understand how the world sees you. Like, right? That doesn't mean that you fall into traps and you start to get feel in some kind of way, but it is important anchoring to understand how the world sees you so that you can make informed decisions about your next move, right? Based on that. So you accept it, you reject it, but you add it as information. And so the key to that it is the information, but the step before about asking for it is sometimes what we won't do because we're a little bit afraid potentially of what the answer might be.
Yeah.
And so you said, I always ask for feedback. So you made that a practice. The other thing that is so key is being able to historically look back in time and say, no, I've succeeded. Like I can look at points in my life where I have killed the game, where I've totally killed the game. And you're going to tell me that I'm this, this, and this. That's not true of me. And I can tell you why, because I can reference these points in my past where I've learned lessons, where I've done incredible work, where I've accomplished a lot, where I've been able to give to my community or whatever it is. That is something. Like that's valuable and it's worth something. And so just because it's in your past doesn't mean it can't inform your today. Yeah. So both of those things, those factors in my mind seem to have said to you, okay, naysayers, you don't know Hannah.
Yeah.
I'm about to show you what it's about, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is what we're getting ready to do.
Yeah. And there was one other piece that I think, as you were saying that came to mind, that in those moments makes it difficult for people to make that leap. So I had a really great friend connection at that school. And I had lots of teacher friends because I was so submerged in education for a while. The choice to leave, I got a lot of pushback from friends. It was when you work as a teacher, if anyone in the audience has worked in nonprofits or as a teacher, there's a little bit of a guilt when you leave the classroom, especially a special needs classroom or Title I classroom, or, there's a lot of guilt when you decide to work in another sector that is not necessarily helping people. I got a lot of pushback from my friends about leaving. I felt a lot of guilt. And that was another thing that played in my ear as I was making the decision to, offer myself up as an unpaid intern. Would I really be helping people? Would I feel a sense of purpose? I don't think I discovered an answer for a while. I just kind of went for it. And then when I realized that I was successful, with social and with marketing the product, I think it gave me the confidence to recognize that that chapter was for myself. I had given myself to communities for many years. And I mean, as a Title I school teacher, you don't sleep. Like you work hard. It's taking homework on the weekends. It's all of those things. So I really gave 110% of myself to those kids and to those families. And I don't regret it for a moment. But I didn't ever go internal. And so it was that time period for me, that summer especially, where I was getting the positive feedback just on my own work for me.
Yeah.
And it made me feel so much more confident in myself and empowered me. And I feel like that's what lets me be a better leader today for other people. Like, to that point of the naysayers kind of saying you're not doing anything for good, I feel like I am doing good because I am providing. We've done a number of awesome things through Nugget and through all the excitement around Nugget, but especially to that point about mentoring other young women, and especially young women of color. That's so important to me. That's so critical to my core values. And so I feel like because I went internal, I was able to focus and make that happen.
That's good. There's a couple things there. I should be taking notes. I'm not, but I'm going to remember this. I want to go back to, you had naysayers. I want to go back to that. Again, really important to pull that forward because, again, that's a stumbling block, a roadblock for people to believe in themselves to go forward. And I think, again, a question for those who are participating in this workshop is, if you are on the cusp and on the verge of a reinvention where you are trying to say, you know in your mind, I know I can do this, but you have people who are feeding you something that is the opposite of that. You have to ask yourself, are you comfortable being uncommon? Are you comfortable being uncommon? Because that's what it's going to take, right? That's what it's going to take. You have to step into a different light, and it might just be shining on you in that moment. And those who are not in that light are looking at you and saying, wanting to pull you back, right? And back doesn't mean negative. It just means back into the convention, back into what's comfortable.
Right. Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
So if you know what you want for yourself and you're determined to get there, then you have to get settled. You have to have some conversations with yourself and those around you, the people that support and love you, that this is going to be a moment where I'm going to feel uncommon or against convention, and I need you to support me in that effort. Because it can easily throw you back into time, right? So I love that point that you make. Let's talk about tips and tricks. Anything that you do to keep yourself motivated, to keep yourself positive, to continue to learn in your journey. Like, how do you stay edified and how do you pour into yourself? Because it sounds like now I'm going to kind of switch to like self-help a little bit here. As a woman, right? As a Latina woman who's in this world, there's a lot, right? You said about community. You said all this about community and these expectations and who you represent. And I have you on here because you're a powerful woman who's making great moves. There's a lot pulling on you, and you're growing a business. So, like, talk to those of us who are watching about what do you do to take care of you?
The best thing I ever did to take care of myself was I found an excellent therapist. And this is like the millennial in me. And, I think probably by now we've all understood how therapy has had a massive taboo for so long. And once I kind of freed myself from that taboo, I don't know where it came from. Once I freed myself from that and recognized that going to therapy is a form of self-care, just like going to the gym, getting your nails done. It's investing in yourself. I found an excellent woman of color in Durham. Shouts to Joy. And she has been like the most important thing that I can point to for me, because it's that person that can just connect the dots for you when things feel kind of like a big kind of like scribble, all above you, and you're thinking about the startup, and you're thinking about being a mentor, you're thinking about being a good partner and family and all of those things. Having a person that you pay, right? To listen to you,
so important,
and pull apart those threads and pull apart the trends, and is licensed and all of those things to give you the best advice. I think that is the best thing I ever did for myself, because it allowed, and I don't see her that often, but it just allows me to have a place where I go to think through things a little bit better and a little bit more soundly. And so I think that is my best advice that I can offer someone.
I love that. That's really good. And you laid it out perfectly. Some of those former taboos, which feel like they're just not there anymore. They've really been sort of deconstructed.
I love it.
We're all just talking about it, right? I go to therapy, you go to therapy. It's important to take care of our mental health, especially when you're juggling and you have so many different things that are happening all at the same time. Someone needs to be able to look at that from from the outside and help you
Yep.
make sense of it. So that's so good. What other lessons have you learned along the way in your 28 years on this planet, my friend?
What lessons? I'm still learning so much.
Or advice that you want to give for a young woman or a professional woman who is thinking about making a career pivot, or a mom who gave her career up and wants to go back into the workforce, or someone who's in the workforce who wants to start their own business and stay home with their kids. There's all these different pivot points.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to share, like words of encouragement or things that could help motivate them to push forward?
I think so. A little bit about me is I love kind of self-help, and I love going to things like this. I went to Wellfest last year, and I've always been like that in college. I would go to all the speaker series, and I just really have always enjoyed soaking up that stuff. I never, for whatever reason, low self-confidence, or just like society and how, we talk and treat young women. I never saw myself in those people, or there was a dissociation where I felt like that will never be me. I'm going to try to learn, but, they're talking about these experiences that could never happen to me. And I don't know why I did that, but I think it might be common. And I feel like the way that I've gotten to the place that I'm at is by being extremely vulnerable with people about what I don't know. And so going into, TFA, I was extremely vulnerable about, I'm really passionate about this. I want to work hard. I want to be the best teacher I can be. I don't know anything about teaching. I did this one program with Student U, but I don't know if I'm going to be the best teacher, but I want to try. Having that first conversation with David and Ryan, bless them. Thanks, y'all, for the opportunity. Shouts. That was literally what I said to them is, I'm going to be really vulnerable with you guys. I'm getting rejected. I think that I bring a lot to the table. I don't know what I can bring to y'all, but let me try. And even now, as the person that's on the other side of the table and does hiring, when it's the person that asks questions, when it's the person that's like extremely, extremely vulnerable and says, I don't know, but I really want to learn, that to me is the person I'm most interested in working with, because that shows that there's an eagerness and an earnestness that gets people to that next place. And you can tell the difference between that person and someone that already knows and has already lived the journey. And sometimes there's a role for that person. Yeah. I'm just, for whatever reason, in my experience, more interested in helping and working with those people that just want to try. Because I think that that's where like the real magic and beauty can happen in work and in life. So that's kind of like my piece of advice, is just be extremely vulnerable and open. You don't have to have it all together. And those people that are on the stages, or even me in this moment, we don't have it all together. We are just like everybody else. And if we can be more open and vulnerable, maybe people will feel like they can see themselves in others.
I love that. Thank you. That's a great note to actually end on. And I'm just going to put a fine point on it because I have a habit of doing that. But this idea of being vulnerable and allowing that, taking that risk, it's a personal risk to let someone else see what you consider a weakness and asking them to help you, to guide you, to teach you. But imagine in your life, if you look back at I'm doing this actually, imagine the times where you did that and you experienced the success. Your story is a perfect example. And imagine had you not done it.
Yeah.
That one moment where you're like, I can't. Either it's a pride thing, or it's an embarrassment thing, or as Brene always says, shame, where we don't want to expose that side of us because we want others to see us for what they think that we are. Our IG portfolio, profile, all the things that we've created, the brand, all that stuff. And that's not the whole you. Yeah. And allowing them to see those other pieces of you and asking them to provide input and guidance so that you can take yourself to that next level where you desire to be is a key pivotal moment in whatever you want to call it. Reinvention, call it living a great life, right? Like exposing yourself to the next most incredible, potentially hurtful, maybe potentially beautiful though, thing requires the vulnerability. And so I am honored that you took the time. I'm serious. This has really energized me and given me so much food for thought and reinforced so many things that I hold dear. But sometimes you just think, that's just you talking, right? In my mind, that's just how you think.
Yeah.
But to listen to your journey and those pivotal moments sort of coming to life, or I just think it's awesome. Is there anything else? I said I was going to leave it here, but is there anything else you want to share with our folks? Anything about reinvention? One last word from our guest, Hannah.
One last word is that on the topic of vulnerability, the reason I love Jess so much and the reason that we're close is I remember calling you. I was like boohoo crying. I don't even remember about what. I was in New York City. I was walking around and I called you up and I was just like 100% with my emotions for you. And that's just another example of just, you know, in life and in relationships and in connections, being vulnerable, showing yourself, showing your emotions, being okay with that can get you to, you know, a place like this where you're just on a next level, deeper level with someone because you're honest about yourself.
I love that. Thank you, my friend. Oh, I love it. All right. Well, I don't know, folks. I hope you took some great notes. I hope you follow Nugget, give all that social good stuff so that people can know where they can find you and your work.
Yes. Yeah. On social, we're at Nugget Comfort. You can check out this funky product we've been talking about, nuggetcomfort.com. And if you just want to send me an email, I'm Hannah at nuggetcomfort.com. Say hey, connect. I love chatting with people, getting coffee. So yeah, hit me up.
Awesome. Listen to her. Giving everybody a 15-minute window to have coffee or more. I love that. Thanks, friends.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Hannah.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.